Yeah, so today we're doing our annual aerial wildfire exercise, and this is kind of a joint exercise that we do every year between our UH-60 Black Hawk pilots down with Cheyenne, and then we do that with our Camp Guernsey Fire Department here up at Camp Guernsey. And so this is an exercise that started back in 2013. It was really just an opportunity to get two entities that were doing training for their certifications and bring them together so that way they could learn to work together in the event that we ever actually had another fire at Camp Guernsey.
Negative. Our streamer's to your 1 o'clock right now. We're looking for that road.
And so back in 2013 is when I came to Camp Guernsey Army Airfield, and I'd noticed that the folks down at the ASF were doing an annual certification where they were getting their pilots trained up for the potential fire season, and they were operating mostly out of the Pole Mountain area. And then we also noticed that, hey, coincidentally, our Camp Guernsey firefighters were also doing an annual certification up here with doing fires. And we just happened to have an opportunity where we had a lot of areas where we needed to control burns. And then so what better opportunity to do an actual real controlled burn fire with smoke, guys on the ground, coordinating with pilots that overfly the area. We know it's inevitable that these two entities will eventually work together. So it really just started off with, hey, why don't we get together and make this happen? And we were able to do that with great success. And then so every year since then, we've tried to build on that success and make this an annual exercise. And so some of the ways that it's built is that we were looking to validate the response time in the event that we had a fire and we needed to bring an aircraft up here. Well, how long does it take for that aircraft to respond so we know to plan those standby missions? And so that was like the next step. And it gave us the opportunity to go, okay, well, we know that if they're on a standby mission, we can expect water on fire in this amount of time and validate that. So that was great for our decision makers down in Cheyenne to determine whether or not an aircraft needed to be on standby with identified crews, aircraft ready to go in the event that we're doing higher risk missions with artillery. And of course, it also gives us the added capability is that, with Wyoming being a high risk fire danger area, especially with some of the type of training missions we do, we want to mitigate that risk as best we can. One of the great things that working at Camp Guernsey is we also live here in the local community, and we want to make sure that we're good stewards of our neighborhood. So by practicing on this annually and ever increasing our capabilities and ability to work together, we're mitigating that risk with all the missions that we do here. One of the things that's really great about this year is that we're also working with some different agencies, outside agencies. Camp Guernsey Fire Department is part of a mutual aid agreement in the area. In the event that we do have a wildland fire and where we need to call in as many folks as we can to help. So this year we've invited them out to participate as well so they can be part of that Camp Guernsey team. So this is kind of a dual-hatted thing really. So our firefighters that are on the ground are getting hands-on experience. They're having exchange of that training with the mutual aid fire departments and getting real-world wildland firefighting experience today. And then of course our pilots, as part of their annual certification, they're getting the experience in the aircraft. And so this is one of those perishable skills that we need to learn every year where we're operating the fire bucket, we're pulling water out of the lake. There's a lot of crew coordination that happens inside of the aircraft between the pilots and the crew members in the back. One of the things that people don't realize is the pilots in the front, when we hover over a lake to pull water out of the lake, we can't see that bucket. So everything is crew coordination as far as maneuvering that aircraft to a safe location where we can pull water out. It's all verbal and commands. And it really takes an entire team to pull that water out of the lake. And then when you are pulling that water out of the lake with that aircraft is operating at the most extreme conditions, and you're really asking everything out of that aircraft performance-wise to do that safely. And then once you get that aircraft underway, then the communication is going between us in the air and those on the ground, and that's where that certification comes from. So there's certain types of commands that between us on the ground and on the air to get that water exactly where they need it. The last thing we want to do is waste resources. So it's really a combined effort, a lot of communication, crew coordination, and that's really where we're getting certified today. I think this is so important because you get a lot out of this. Not just the check the block certification, but really you get the confidence in your ability to do the job. You're building confidence in the equipment. You're building confidence as a team to be able to respond to these type situations. And I think most importantly, and this is one of the reasons why I love the Army National Guard, is because, as I mentioned before, we're all community members. We don't just work here and serve here, we also live here. And so in the event that we ever actually, God forbid, have a fire that we have to respond to, we now have the confidence and the tools and the capability to respond for our communities. And I think that's really the bottom line, most important thing here, is the ability to serve and respond to these types of unfortunate situations that happen.